everybody, welcome to my May wrap-up video. We have a whole stack to go through with you all. I'll just pop it down. I have my reading journal with me and my glasses, so obviously if I look down and stuff and you can't see what I'm looking at, then that's it. I've also got some water, in case I need some water. May wasn't a crash up month. We started off on a real strong note and then it just went like downhill like a roller coaster from there. But luckily June has started off pretty good, so hopefully June will continue positively. But we're here to chat about May and what eventuated in May. And some months are like that, it's gonna pan out like that. Sometimes as a reader, we're just gonna battle our way through and yeah, keep rolling. So yeah, as I said, we started off on a really strong note. The first book that I read was one that I automatically popped onto my TBR, which is Skyward, Claim the Stars, Brandon Sanderson. This is part of his Skyward series, the first book. And I was really keen to get into this series because it was very like outer space vibes. And I was wanting to do it in May because obviously there's Star Wars Day in May, so yeah. But this was the third attempt of this author and I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. I had an awesome time reading it from start to finish, and yeah, I just really loved it and flew through it. It wasn't in regard to any challenges. I will definitely continue this series. I do have the rest of the books. It just depends on when my TBR card lets me, or I automatically put them on. So I liked the atmosphere, the characters, the ship that was specified to a character, the academy kind of vibes. I'm sure like they started off pretty young, but I'm sure over time they will grow up and stuff like that, which will be interesting to see where things go. There was a family vibe, which was cool, and obviously it was sci-fi theme, outer space theme, and this was actually my first ever sci-fi read, so a good place to start. The ending had me on the edge of my seat, so obviously I need to do a bit of a recap of the ending before I start the other one. There was a lot of student bonding and it was just really overall awesome. 5 stars. So yeah, I just said as a final review, OMG, this was an amazing read. My first ever sci-fi. Finally found my vibe with Brandon Sanderson, as I said. And this story had me hooked from the start to finish, had me on the edge of the seat, and I'm definitely looking forward to book number 2 of the series. So yeah, we started off an awesome, strong note with Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Then we went downhill from there. What did I do next? We did You've Got Chainmail by Sam Parks. I actually don't recall. Oh yeah, because I didn't put it generally up the top for some reason. 4 stars, this one, so a pretty good one. It had like a Renaissance fair and like fun D&D games and stuff like that. It was some of the scenes were a bit out of my comfort zone, but you know, I coped. It did meet a few challenges, which is always awesome. This year for challenges, I'm just sort of doing them at the moment as they prop up. However, being the later start of the year, soon we're gonna have to like look and see what's going on. Little Y for Romance A to Z Challenge. Published before 2026, because it's published, let me see, 2024. Romance, yeah, so that was for my romance challenge, and it was also a book on my 26 books to read in 2026, which I'm doing really well with that. So yeah, a 4-star, pretty good. If you like that kind of fun vibe when it comes to romances, yeah, definitely have a read of that. It's fun and cute. I then read a couple of my book club reads. I'm just scanning through to my quick review section. Let me just check ratings. Yep. So the next one was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This was actually a reread for me and my first ever reread. This propped up as a book club book, and I just kind of had a thought to have a go at rereading it, because I read it at the very start of my reading journey like 3 years ago. Or 4 years ago, whatever it was. And I wasn't really a fan of it, but then I've had a lot of growth in my reading journey. I've had like a lot of romances read since that time frame. So previously I had given it 2 stars and I wasn't a fan of it at all. So I gave it a reread for book club. And I bumped it up just 1 star, so now it is 3 stars. So it's alright still. I just didn't blend with the characters or the story line as much as I thought I would. And yeah, previously when I gave it 2 stars, I thought weirdly that the like romance side of it was a bit much, but obviously it's very, very tiny amount compared to some stuff I've read. So that didn't bother me. I rated it low still because it was mainly my connection to both the main characters and the storyline, and there's a bit of a topic of cancer that came up, and I've kind of got that in my own life, so it was kind of a trigger for me, and stuff like that. So yeah. I propped it up 1 star to 3 stars, which was pretty good, and it was interesting to do a reread like that. The next book club book was The Hurricane Wars. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This was alright. It was a challenge to start with. It took halfway through, up until about chapter 20, and then it finally like picked up and wasn't like heavy based descriptive on the world and stuff like that. Yeah, it was alright. I wasn't really crash hot on it, so yeah, 3.5 stars. That was a first read. Everything else is a first read, unless I mention it, of course. And then we had a few sad attempts. Couple of sad attempts of things. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I read this, I gave it a shot, and sadly and disappointingly, it was a DNF for me. I was so upset about it. Like, I wanted to love it because number one, it's dragons, number two, it's fantasy, number three, I've heard so many good things about it. Where did I get up to? I got up to chapter 30, so I went like 175 pages in. To me, I couldn't like attach to any of the characters or the storyline, and the writing to me was just terrible. I'm sorry, but to me it was just terrible. I just could not get into it, and I'm very, as I said, I'm very, very sad about that because I know how popular this book is. So yeah, I was very disappointed. But I gave it a shot, and you know, it just wasn't for me. Yeah, it was fully a lot to do with the writing of it. Yeah, sadly, very, very sadly. I was very upset about that because I've heard so many great things about the story. But when I was at my local book shop and my local book club, I was speaking to a lot of the members there, and they also agreed with me with the writing style of When the Moon Hatched. They said they gave it a low rating if they did make it through because of the writing style, or they did what I did, which was a DNF. So yeah, I was kind of put on a low about that because I really, really wanted to love that book. Really wanted to. And then we didn't have much luck with this one either. It's Crow, which is the second book in Fairies of Oz series. I loved the first one, Tin, last year when I read it. So I was very surprised I didn't like the second one. I got to chapter 9, which is page 75, and obviously being a short book, it's halfway-ish. I did not like the characterization and the whole story being based around prostitution. This one, the first one was just like, you know, your normal relationship stuff. They met like on the yellow brick road, and then they had like this adulty kind of relationship in pubs and stuff like that, and along their journey. But this one was just like prostitute stuff and really, really awful, and I just couldn't get past that. So yeah, won't be continuing that book of that series or book 3. So yeah, couple of low moments for me, and that brought me down in the dumps actually, especially When the Moon Hatched. Like, I was really looking forward to it, really, you know, wanting to read it, and then so then I decided to listen to Mockingjay, which is the third book, I think. Yeah, third book in the Hunger Games series. I'm slowly working my way through these. This is my first time ever reading them, but I am doing them by Audible for the first time. And to me it does help knowing the movies already. But yeah, this one I only gave 4 stars. The other couple I gave 5 stars to. I have always thought Mockingjay was a bit repetitive-ish. There was nothing like brand new to the story of Mockingjay, really. It was just like a, you know, do another one because we can do another one kind of thing. But I've always felt the first couple and the other ones after Mockingjay alright, like up there. But yeah, we gave this one 4 stars, and I'll obviously continue with the series. I'm up to Songbirds and Snakes, and then obviously the newer one after that. And that was Fantasy Challenge, a book of trials, because obviously they go through the trials, and the letter M for my A to Z challenge. I think this one is in quick reviews, I believe. The next one. Yeah. So the next one is Breaking Point by Mads Rafferty. She is a indie Australian author who I came across last year. This is the second book I've read of hers, actually. I really loved Deadly Occupants. It's like a Halloween vibe, haunted mansion, Pretty Little Liars vibe kind of book. I loved that one, ate it up. This one, however, Breaking Point, I only gave 3 stars to. This author is very heavy with her emotional stuff in her romances. I felt it needed more along the fun vibes of the hockey team and the funness of each character instead of being so 100% focused on all the emotional stuff. To me, it just needed more of that fun vibe. But yeah, it was alright. I gave it 3 stars. I won't be continuing with her ice hockey series, which is Ice Hawks, which I believe she's continuing writing. I do have her fantasy series, so hopefully that's better than her romances. But I did love the one that I read last year, which is Spooky Vibes, Deadly Occupants. I gave that one 5 stars, so yeah. Just didn't like this one because it was very heavily emotionally built up and mentally, full on. And then we ended the month reading Blood is the New Black. There was like a couple of days left to the month, so I chose this one from random. It wasn't on my TBR. I actually went to a book sale, local book sale, and I got this during that particular month. And I was keen to read it, so being short, 2 days left in the month, I decided to. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was alright. It's kind of Devils meets Prada meets vampires in that kind of world. So I was very curious about it. Yeah, and it was a fun time. I did give it 3.5 stars. The main thing was it took like more than half the book to actually get to her discovering that she's working with vampires and all this stuff is happening with the vampire side of the story. So it would have been nicer if it was a bit more of that awesome vampire vibe to it. Yeah, but it was fun. So yeah, that was my reading stack for May. Thank you so much for joining me in my wrap-up video. I greatly appreciate it. We do battle through those moments with some books, but and we all have different opinions, obviously. So yeah, if you did love books that I didn't love, then that's fine. Like, we're all very, very different. Luckily June has started off a bit better. Hopefully it'll continue that way. But we never know. Yeah, and obviously after June we'll do our June wrap up. I do have some fun shopping videos coming up, so stay tuned for that. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow my Instagram account as well. The video before this one was a book haul from when I went to Sydney, which was such a good few days away, and I did some awesome book shopping, which actually shows this stack of purchases here. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you check it out before the upcoming book shopping videos, which are very, very soon. I'm working on them at the moment. And obviously there'll be, my upcoming TBR video and the usual stuff. Yeah. So I will chat to you all very soon. Thank you for joining me in my May wrap up. Catch you later. Bye.